Welcome back to In His Mind. It's around 3:30 in the morning. Got my coffee and I'm good to go. There's been a lot on my mind that I'm going to just kind of talk about. What is the point of it all is the topic for this video. And I want to say that there has been a ton on my mind involving recent issues, along with Baldur's Gate 3 and Withers, a particular character that strikes me as someone who is very close to the representation of God, or rather who he could be. And I want to say, going through life, having what happened to me the way it did really left a strong impression on me, both with what happened to me personally in the army, in the church, and in the other areas of my life, some which I will need to go into later down the road. I want to say, for the most part though, I used to think that I understood a lot more, but honestly, as time has gone on and more has come to light and I've learned more, I've realized I know very little. Now, yes, there is a lot that I do know, but it is very little compared to what actually is out there. And I want to say that I always thought the purpose of life was simply to live, to enjoy, and to get somewhere in life. And I think other people have added their own thoughts along the way. Like, for some, it's a cruel game, or that, it is what it is. It all amounts to a game of chance. This is why things happen. The dice rolled a certain way, and you just weren't dealt the best hand possible. That right there excludes responsibility and consequences of one's own actions. I know that for a fact, but I do understand that point right there. Mostly because I've tried D&D and I was never really that good at it. In the end, I always just found that I rolled the dice to see what I could do. I would just basically put out a list of options and then roll the dice and be like, yeah, let's just go with that. Because I could never make up my mind. I couldn't visualize things that way. Kind of frustrating, but the stories involved in D&D, or specifically Pathfinder, was always interesting. And conversely, that's what Baldur's Gate 3 is. It's a part of D&D. You can pick characters and go through a really interesting story. But yeah, back to the point. What revolutionized things in the past year or two, I can't remember when my father told me, but basically he boiled things down to, what if the whole entire point of everything was to have a relationship with the Creator, with God? And that makes a lot of sense, but that is so simple. It is hard to simply believe that is the answer, or at least an answer. The point of it all, I guess I wanted to do the video differently and call it something along the lines of like, your best, or what is your best. And then I realized I could tie the two together, because that is something that I've made of that is something that I pursued in my life, that I valued, because I wanted the best. And then I realized from a very young age that I had to work to be the best, to have the best. And that is a good goal to have, and something that is worth sacrificing for and spending a lot of your time, energy, and resources to accomplishing. Because in the end, either you will never be stopped, you will never be limited, you will never be lacking, and you will very likely be fulfilled in some way, shape, or form, even if things do not go according to plan. or you get everything that you want or whatever. You know? A lot of things will end up being fulfilled in one way or the other. I want to say, as far as Christianity goes, the whole thing about, well, you get to go to heaven, you have a relationship with God, and you have a relationship with a whole other people. They become your family. It's very appealing to a lot of people. But for others, it either doesn't make sense or it's not something that interests them. And to them, I would simply say, why not pursue being the best version of yourself and making something that lasts, you know? Something that has value, something that can bring you pride, something that you can say, hey, I did this, I accomplished this. And then you just start from there and see where it goes. In other words, don't just simply do something for yourself, but make something of yourself. There's a lot here to unpack because there's so many different paths that you can go down when you start from being the best, or what is the point of it all? And there's a lot of tricky and challenging questions that many people have been stumped by, you know? It goes along lines of, why does God allow bad things to happen, especially to good people? You know, consequences are a very real thing. Free will ties in with all of this. The ability to choose. And incidentally, it ties in very well with the picture of the video. Now, keep in mind, the link down below you can check out in the description it ties in with the dark urge, which I don't know enough to explain, but basically, you go in, reject a certain somebody, you die, and then you're resurrected by Withers, who explains quite a bit, and I don't want to ruin anything. You would have to go halfway to the video to check it out and to see what all is said, but it is very well done. I think time, and I think having to learn other characteristics and qualities like patience makes it very hard, but at the same time it makes things a lot more understandable as a lot matures in between now and in the future. We can only see so much, and patience, having time progress further, allows us to see a little bit more. Plus, since people make mistakes and there's other things that pop up along the way, sometimes we just can't see them because they're in the background, but we wait a little bit and they'll be brought forward. And that's something that is worth mentioning here, just because we live in the age of the here and the now, you know? The quick, the whole, I want to be satisfied now, I want to get, you know, it's quantity over quality, pleasure over reward, you know? It's like why some people try to take pills or they try to take quick fixes, rather than simply go through the long process of the healthier process of whatever. It could be losing weight, you know, go to the gym, watch what you eat, count your calories, that sort of thing. Whereas others would prefer to take pills and things that may not be necessarily proven to work. Basically shortcuts. But yeah, I want to say perfection is never really a goal that is something that should ever be attained, but it's a good goal to work towards nevertheless, because of everything that you eliminate. The extra, the unnecessary, the faulty self-defense mechanisms, the faulty or failing characteristics, stuff that basically you know is a problem or is in the way that you can just get rid of, you know, deal with. That's hard, because that requires you to take a look at yourself and to admit what is wrong or what is off or what is basically not even needed any longer. You know? I grew up with some of the best parents one could ever have, but that doesn't guarantee that, you know, I would actually come out perfect or be perfect or anything like that. There's a lot of work that's needed. A lot of mistakes will happen. A lot of consequences and issues will pop up. Yeah. Still, the story that is told, the lives that are lived, we can become some very awesome individuals with stories left behind to share. Memories, stories, all of that stuff. Monuments, legacies. Being remembered for who we were and what we did. They go hand in hand. So even if you don't leave something physical behind, unless it's like a family or something, there's always something that will be left behind to say that you were here. I think in the end, that is one of those things that will show others who we are. I want to say the person in my life, the being in my life, he was not human. There's still a lot to unpack, even years after 2007, 2008, when he first kind of popped in my life. And it's very hard just because there's a lot of images there, but he never communicated anything with me. He never said a word. But there was a lot there that was shown nevertheless. As one who walked between, or rather walked next to Jesus in some of the visions I had, he walked between basically good and evil, pointed out the differences between both, and yet pointed the way to Christ, as in, this is a path for you. But he wasn't trying to tell me it was my path or that I should go down it. Basically, it seemed like he was revealing something at the time. I want to say more importantly, one of the things that stuck out to me most were two things. One of them was basically if I had chosen to be evil, if I was chosen to go down in a different path and be the worst version of myself, that he would actually come back to haunt me. And I don't know if haunt is the right word, but it's the closest word I can think of at this point in time. And the other one is a picture, an image of basically him holding a pistol on me and then flipping it around, handing the butt of the pistol to me while he's holding the barrel. And that never made sense to me as far as why that particular event happened. There's more, but the idea there is to become someone or something. It ties in very nicely with being the best and the point of what is it worth at all. We are, in a very real sense, we are empty cups. We start out with nothing and we have to go through life filling it up as we go. What we choose to fill it up with matters. It could be lots of little things that really do not matter in the long run, or it could be lots of important things. And where specifically my channel falls into this, is to offer a different perspective that you may realize there are things in your past that prevent you from moving forward, that prevent you from understanding more. Because as a whole, the church, they have a very specific point of view, and they do not deviate from it. They do not ever go to other sources except for the Bible, and very rarely they'll go to other teachers of the Bible, but that's it. They don't go anywhere else. Personal accounts, unless they're in the Bible, they mean nothing to them. Family members and relatives are about the only exception. I'm a little biased, and I have to say that I've had some of the best parents one could have. So for me, my parents are very wise, and I do listen to them. So I will always value them. And when it comes down to it, maybe you are in the same boat there, where you have others who've helped influence you that you can understand. A different perspective is needed for a lot, just because it helps show what is in front of you, what is in your life, and in many cases, that which is wrong or off. Very few of us ever choose to be evil, ever choose to be the worst version of ourselves. And that is completely understandable. You're either selfish, you want power, you want what you want, and you're letting a lot of things like your desires control you. I want to say on the very rare occasions, other people have made pacts with other beings, and there is very little left of who they actually are, except of whatever remains. Their desires, their lusts, their greed. It's almost like they themselves as a person no longer exist. That kind of sucks though, because at the end of your life, you arrive, but you're not even there. You're just simply a body with no soul, or bits and pieces of your soul left over. On that, there is one final note I would like to leave here. I think in some regards, the point of it all, the best that we could be, is like the unfinished sculpture in the sculptor's hands, the unfinished pot in the potter's hands, in that we ourselves can become something greater if we stick to the path and run the race. We choose not to give up. Giving up is a terrible thing, just because of all that is not done. All those who are impacted, or unfortunately not impacted, both can happen, both are equally terrible. But that is a topic for another time when talking about depression. Until next time.